Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lauren Fine, and I'm the co-founder and co-director of the Youth Sentencing and Reentry Project. And I'm here today respectfully asking for $125,000 to help us hire an additional staff member over 2 years to expand our capacity. And I'll talk in greater detail about what that will mean for our organization. But first, I'd like to tell you about a boy I met recently. His name is David. He weighs 110 pounds, and he's 5'5". David absolutely loves to sing, but more than anything else in the world, he loves his little brother, Rob. His whole face lights up when he talks about him. David has this smile that's infectious. When I first met him, he looked me straight in the eye and shook my hand. "It's nice to meet you," he said. I met David in an adult jail. He's 15 years old. David had spent the last 4 months in this jail, all before a judge or a jury could decide whether he was guilty of doing anything, and whether the judge could decide whether he was worthy of the rehabilitation, education, and treatment that the juvenile justice system was designed to offer him. So how does this happen? How does a child end up in adult jail? Well, here in Pennsylvania, we have statutes that allow children as young as 10 years old to be automatically prosecuted in the adult criminal justice system, which means that a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old like David, who can't legally get a tattoo, drive a car, or vote for the district attorney who's prosecuting him, suddenly becomes an adult in the eyes of the law. So what can we do about this? Let's look at David's case. David got home on bail after those 4 months in the adult jail, and we were able as an organization to set him up with a summer program where he could expand upon his passion for singing and music. We connected him with a trauma counselor who could help him address some of the trauma that he experienced while he was incarcerated, as well as the trauma he had experienced before he got there. And we enrolled him in volunteer programs, so he was doing urban farming in his own community, learning from positive role models and contributing back to the community in which he lives. And the results were great. We wrote all of this up, including telling David's story in a more complex, nuanced way than just the charges that were being filed against him. We were able to show the judge his challenges, his strengths, and also the things that he'd been doing in the community in his time home on bail. And the judge decided to send his case back to the juvenile court system and encouraged him to continue taking advantage of the programs and services that we'd set up for him. I want to talk for a minute about costs because they're real in both human and financial terms. It costs $43,000 a year to send a child to an adult jail in Pennsylvania. And it's 34% more likely that a child, when considering all factors and holding factors equal, who is sent to the adult system ends up back in that system again. So again, these costs are very real. So what are we doing about it? Well, the Youth Sentencing and Reentry Project aims to move cases from the adult criminal justice system to the juvenile justice system or to the community when there's an alternative to incarceration that's available and appropriate. And our real goal is actually to put ourselves out of business because we are aiming to change the laws that allow children to be prosecuted as adults. And we have a 3-step model that works with young people as close to their arrest as possible through their reentry to the community. So I described a bit about what we do at sentencing, which is provide a mitigation report for the judge to understand our client and their situation in a more complex way. We then provide support to young people, whether they're incarcerated in the adult or the juvenile justice system, to make sure that their families are involved and informed and that they can be in touch as a support with their family member throughout the period of incarceration, and make sure that they can be accessing supports that are going to best prepare them for the transition home. We also work with young people as they come home, and in some cases as an alternative to incarceration, to help them connect to already existing resources in our community that are free, that provide supports in housing, healthcare, education, job training, all of the things that we think are much more responsive to the needs that they're facing than adult prisons. Who are we? My colleague Joanna, unfortunately, her family had a medical emergency and couldn't be here today, but she and I are both attorneys who've worked both with individual young people and also on policy reform. We've been fortunate to start a program at the University of Pennsylvania where we have over 30 law and social work students working in interdisciplinary teams on our individual casework, as well as on policy research that's informing the campaigns that we're starting to take on, and also on community outreach, making sure that young people and families know about what the possibilities are in terms of the adult criminal justice system, and making sure that they can access our services for free. We've been funded so far by a variety of local and national foundations. We were selected as Echoing Green Fellows. We've been funded here by the Barra Foundation, the Bread and Roses Community Fund, the Seibert Foundation, the Dowdy Foundation, and a few others, as well as the Andrews Family Foundation in New York. And we've been fortunate to get donations of in-kind support from local law firms who provided us with the seed funding and the support to get our 501c3 status and house us pro bono in their office space. And today, as I said, I'm asking for $125,000, which will enable us to hire an additional staff person for 2 years. This person will enable us to double the number of cases that we can serve here in Philadelphia of individual children and families, and more importantly, can really focus on the policy initiatives that we've begun to get underway but can't really do as a staff of 2 while we're also juggling a caseload. This will enable us to create the policy change that we hope to put ourselves out of business with, and will actually generate 3 times the value of your investment in terms of the hours that they're able to contribute on behalf of individual young people and their families. So I hope that you'll join us today in the belief that we're all better than the worst thing that we've ever done. Thank you very much for your time.